Vidhammer Fantasy.
Welcome back to Vidhammer. I'm Spudlow, wishing everyone a Merry Christmas for 2013. Finishing up the last video for the Learn to Play tournament in Lutz, Florida. That was a lot of fun. Last game again against the Ogres. And very similar to the second round, but still had a lot of fun. It's a good one. And I've also got 3 videos that'll be coming up for the Dark Side tournament that was in December. That's 2,999 points. Taking a bit of a different list on that one. Had a lot of fun. Again, ended up against the Ogres. A very strong list in the third round once more. Yay. Magic didn't go quite my way on that round. But still had a lot of fun. Enjoyed the venue and getting to see everybody down there. As the new year starts, I got to get myself back on painting, try to get things finished for Crucible 3. But still trying to hammer down exactly what my army list is going to look like. Made a couple of tweaks in this most recent tournament, and a few of them I like. A few things I'm probably going to end up changing, at least somewhat. In particular, the Rat Ogres. Also, a shout out to Todd, I believe, and I don't know the entire name. I've spent about 10 minutes trying to look back and find the specific message that he sent dealing with the Doom Rocket and my logic in it. I had to go back and look at all of the analysis that I had previously done, get rid of all the misconceptions and start from scratch. Look at how best to use that stinking thing, and it was someone else's suggestion that I use less dice instead of more dice. And as the logic turns out, that is a much better way of going about it. From statistics, the statistics that I took way back in the old days when we statistically looked at how tall dinosaurs were and things like that. One of the fundamental concepts in something random such as dice, and you're trying to have a average of all of the possible dice rolls, the more dice that you add to the pool, the sharper the bell curve becomes. And that is that the extremes on both sides become less likely the more dice that you add to it. So my logic had always been based on that, saying if you want to get the most consistent roll, a more average roll, then use more dice in order to do that. And that does work. It does take your bell curve and actually curve it in somewhat. The problem is, when you look at your 2.5-inch radius template that you have to put down, and say if you have a target spot, at most you want to go 2 inches before or 2 inches after that. So you're really looking at 5 inches in the center to be the numbers that you want. If you disregard what's outside of that, then it doesn't matter how sharp your bell curve is. If you use 6 or 7 dice, you have a really good likelihood of hitting the peak of your bell curve. The problem is you've added so many dice that that bell curve has widened so much that you have an 8 or a 10-inch margin that has a really high likelihood, but you're only interested in the very center of that. Better to use less dice, even though you will have a higher percentage, higher probability of going way to the extremes, far too far forward or far too short. The bell curve is small enough so that the center 5 numbers, if you roll 4 dice, your average distance being 14 plus or minus 2, so 12 to 16-inch range is perfect if you're rolling 4 dice. That covers more than 50% of your probability if you're rolling 4 dice. As you increase the number of dice, the likelihood of getting that center 5-inch area goes down. I made a point of writing this stuff out. After all of my finagling around, I ended up with this. Using 4 dice, your percentage chance of hitting in the central 5 inches is 52.1%. That's to hit 12, 13, 14, 15, or 16. But if you increase the number of dice, eventually end up down with 10 dice, trying to go for the average of 35 inches, you're only hitting about 35% of the time. You're better off using less dice, even though the extremes, the percentage of vastly overshooting or vastly undershooting, is higher than if you use more dice. The percentage for hitting your target spot is also higher. So use less dice. 14 inches, 4 dice. It's absolutely the best way. Todd, you the man. Thank you for convincing me to go back and look at things and prove that one. So right on, man. Look forward to the other videos as soon as I'm not distracted by things and the holiday season is over and all that good stuff. And of course, Crucible 3 coming up end of February. In case you haven't signed up, I previously said that there was a cap at 18. It's not. It's actually 32. So it's not sold out at this point. There's still more room for people. Get in there before it closes. You're going to want to be there. It's going to be awesome. That's it for this time on Vidhammer. This is Spudlow saying, keep fighting.